We are back. We are back. UFC 302 live from Newark, New Jersey. Poirier versus Makhachev. Very top heavy pay-per-view card, in my opinion. I've been breaking down the main card like usual, providing free picks, leans, price talk, value, and more. Audio only this week. A couple of reasons. One is I'm actually under the weather, not feeling great, but it's the move. We're moving to a new place. I'll have a new office. Should be end of June, maybe July, so look out for that. There's going to be a new office space. Looking forward to that and looking forward to the upgrades. Systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping for everything. Me, client opportunities, records, resume, client comments, articles, sportsbook reviews, and more. Week off last week. So I'll just do an update in general here. And it's 18-2 pay-per-view run is on the line for clients, guys. That's 90%. That's average line plus money, right? It's not minus 200, minus 300. When I like favorites, I parlay them together. So when I like them, I like minus 300s and 200s and I can't find an outcome. Parlay it together, get around even money, get plus money, and that counts as one bet, right? So you'll see some jokers out there, minus 400 bet, and it counts as a bet. No, it doesn't. Right? Anyone could give you that bet. 31-14 all cards run at 70%. Average line plus money. 67% two fight parlays. That's from 2023 up until today, guys. That's long term. Long term, guys. Let's get right into this card. Shop around. Shop around to get the best price out there. I can't stress that enough. Can't stress it enough. I do a lot of reviews for sports books. And I see the big difference in pricing from book to book. Even props. Some props aren't available at certain books. So keep that in mind when you're betting on sports, guys. Get the best price out there. Don't just look at your one favorite book. Maybe your favorite book, doesn't have the best price. You look at the next book, it's 20 cents more or whatever the case may be. Let's get right into the main event. Makhachev, minus 600 versus Poirier, plus 450. What a story it would be if Dustin can pull this off. I've always had, though, a few rules when betting on MMA. Never bet against Khabib. And never bet against John Jones. And never bet against Islam Makhachev. And that's going to have to stand here again, right? Versus Dustin. Dustin's been talking possibly about retirement, which is never a good thing, right? Most of the time when you're bringing up retirement before a fight, you're not going to win that fight. I'm not going to say all the time. I would say it's a high percentage, though, that they don't. But besides that, it's just the matchup, guys. The matchup is terrible for him. Right? When he loses fights, it's not against brawlers. It's not against strikers. He loses fights when guys can wrestle and take him down. We've seen Khabib do it. And that should be the same game plan here. Right? His wrestling, what I like about Dustin, obviously one of my favorite fighters. Love watching him fight. Especially if it's matchup based for him. Matchup based for him, I mean a guy that will come out. The Saint Denis fight was very entertaining for as long as it lasted, right? Both guys wanted to just stand and bang. His wrestling, it's not bad, right? Good jiu-jitsu. It's just he's very easily taken down, right? You can take him down, right? And that 63% takedown defense proves that. You can't be fighting Islam Makhachev with 63% takedown defense and think you're going to have a lot of success. My opinion, the only way he could win this fight is just by catching him with a big shot like he did against Saint Denis. He caught him. Remember, Poirier lost that first round. Remember that, guys. He lost that first round. So, could he catch Islam? It's just such a low odds, 10%. It's just such low odds that he's going to catch him. He's not going to win a decision because Islam, obviously he's going to wrestle. It's not like he's just going to stand in there. Yeah, he's going to stand at times, and Islam does have good striking. Obviously, if it's a boxing fight, a striking fight for 5 rounds, which is not, it's MMA, yeah, Dustin probably would win the fight. But Islam does What he does best is what he's going to do here in this fight and make it easy on himself. Take him down, try to find a submission, some ground and pound, similar to the Khabib victory. And Khabib's going to be in his corner. He's going to tell him that. He's not going to say, oh, let's give Dustin a shot and stand and bang with him. Why? Why would you do that? Just makes no sense. And I have Islam right now as the pound for pound best fighter in the world. Best fighter in the world right now. I think he shows it here against Dustin. Would I love to see a Dustin win? Sure. It would be historic, right? He finally gets that undisputed belt. He only has the interim, right? Sure, it would be an outstanding story. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. Terrible matchup for him. Could hang in there, right? Tough son of a bitch. Possibly he could grind out to a decision, but I see a finish at some point for Islam. That's how way you're going to approve the price. Like, minus 600 is even tough for me to get into a parlay. I would have to stretch it to a 3-fight parlay. 2-fight parlay if I really like someone, maybe in the low hundreds, possibly, but you just don't get enough meat on the bone at minus 600. So looking for an outcome, if you look at it, minus 105 for submission, Shop Run might be able to get plus 100. It's a decent play there. The TKO is a lot higher, plus 250. I don't see that happening. Possible ground and pound finish? That is possible. Very possible. And like I said, Islam is improving his striking. We saw it against Volk. Head kick. KO. Done, right? So it is possible that he gets knocked out. But we know Dustin on the feet, fairly durable. But yeah, no secret here. Islam's going to be the play. I would find in some capacity by finish. Is it possible it goes 5 rounds? Sure. I have a finish maybe around 65 to 70% in this fight. So I feel very confident. It does, not very confident, but I feel fairly, somewhat confident, let's say, that there's a finish at some point in this fight. Excited though. I do expect it to go a few rounds. There are some round bets out there. You can get over 1.5 at like minus 150. That's a look for sure. If you want to take a little more chance, over 2.5, then you're getting a little, it's plus money at over 2.5. So, it's a little more tough, but I can definitely see that happening. Excited for this fight, guys. Strickland minus 225 versus Costa plus 187. Interesting one here. It's Strickland's fight to lose, in my opinion. This one should stay on the feet. And if it does, it favors Strickland. And this is a 5-round fight, guys. Keep in mind, a lot of people don't know that. I actually didn't know until like a week ago. They are doing that more now. I've noticed the UFC. They're doing co-main events, 5-round fights, which is great. Because usually the co-main event's some sort of like title eliminator or something, right? So it kind of does make sense, and I'm hoping they continue to do that. So the 5-round obviously favors Strickland. Right? That's all he does is fight 5-round fights. Costa, it doesn't matter. I think it was 3-4 years ago last time he went 5 rounds. So favors Strickland there. If it's a striking matchup, it's going to favor Strickland. Surprisingly, I thought the volume would be higher for Strickland, but Costa actually out-volumes him by a little bit. Just over 6. Strickland's high 5, so it's not that much of a difference. But I'm starting to think of it, Costa does throw a lot of kicks and does bring pressure. He's always active in a fight. If you think about it, Strickland sometimes is more plotting his next shot, great defense, not always throwing a ton of volume. Obviously, some fights he does. But with Costa, if you think about he does come forward, like to throw a lot of bigger shots, like to throw kicks, very active. That's why sometimes, his cardio can be concerning. Like in the Whitaker fight, it kind of faded late. Right? And that was a 3-round fight. So this is a 5-round fight. If this does get to 4th or 5th round, advantage Strickland. He's going to have the cardio advantage. Costa probably be gassed out by then. And it could possibly go 5 rounds or a later maybe finish. Tough to predict. I have it almost at 50-50 if this fight goes to decision or not. I do agree with the pricing, right? Maybe minus 200 I would have put it at. I just don't think the matchup is great for Costa. Just don't think he's a high-level guy, which, good fighter, but I don't think he's a top guy. Like, he's never going to win a belt, in my opinion. Now, he could catch Strickland possibly slipping. We've seen it before with Pereira. Does Costa have that same power and shot? I don't believe so. But there is a possibility, right? Definitely more of a possibility than Dustin, in my opinion. Obviously, the odds will tell you that too, so I'm not breaking any news here. But if these guys fought 10 times, I think Strickland does win probably 8 of them, guys. So I don't think the price is terrible. Unless Strickland is stupid in there, Costa's not going to try to wrestle. Let's be honest here. Even if he does, he's not going to be able to take Strickland down. So if you're just giving me a striking battle between these two, you have to favor Strickland, right? Unless somehow he gets caught with a big shot, one of those crazy kicks from him. It's possible. It's possible. It's low odds. It's low odds, right? So if you have a Strickland ticket and that happens, tough luck, right? I do think Strickland is a smart side here. I may have him on my client card in some capacity this weekend. Holland minus 275 versus Ola Chaychek plus 225. Yikes. When Kevin Holland is a almost 3-1 favorite, I just can never get it. I don't care who it is against, right? Obviously, this is a favorable matchup for him. He's facing another striker. This guy's not going to try to wrestle. Maybe he could, but it just none of his fights show that or prove that. Holland can be dangerous on the ground as well with his submissions, but this should be a striking battle, which should favor Holland just due to his durability. Right, the Polish fighter, what we see from him, he has good power. He can knock you out, right? However, Kevin Holland is one of the more durable guys in the UFC, right? So that's why I think this matchup is good for him. I just can't get to the price. The price is terrible, guys. Right? If you want to take a longer shot and take like a Holland by finish, smaller unit, I wouldn't call you crazy. But it is tough to get to this price for me at minus 275. I only bet Holland maybe low favorite if I really like the matchup or underdog. That's the only time I can bet Kevin Holland. Obviously if you look at their resumes, very different, right? Holland's fought the best of the best guys out there. Polish fighter, when he stepped up, he had that big step up against Pereira. Pereira took him out in the second round. I like Pereira. I think Pereira, and this is Michel Pereira, by the way, guys. I think he's better than Holland. I think if Michel Pereira fought Holland, I think Michel Pereira would win that fight. So he has been there with a top guy, but look what happened. Pereira looked great in that fight. So don't think he's there's a possibility he could win this fight if he catches Holland, but I just haven't seen the durability gone from Holland, right? So he's not going to wrestle. If he tries, he could try, but I just haven't seen a ton of good wrestling from the Polish fighter. So I don't think he will go there. We'll see, though. Also, gas tank concerns with Ola Chaychek. Holland, no. No gas tank there. So I would have to play Holland. If I were to bet this fight again, I probably won't due to pricing concerns. Almeida, minus 275 versus Romanov, plus 225. Two bad strikers that look for takedowns, right? Should be fun, or will it be? I'm not too sure how this one will go, guys, to be honest. Almeida averages almost 7 takedowns per fight. Romanov 4. I actually see a bit of value here on Romanov. I'm not going to lie here. Don't like the bet on the guy unless it's against a low-level guy, because that's what he does. He fights lower-level guys, and he could beat those guys. But if he steps up a little bit, it's tough. It's tough to back him here. And he is stepping up. Even though we did see Almeida concerns last fight, not a good striker. Chin showed a little bit questionable. Blades was able to put him away in the second round there. And I do think Almeida was a little bit overhyped because, the guys he was controlling on the ground, those guys had no wrestling. Romanov has a ton of wrestling. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like, you could see Romanov getting this fight down to the ground. Could be a little dangerous due to Almeida's BJJ. But Romanov also does have good BJJ. So I actually think this fight's fairly intriguing to kind of see how it goes. But I just can't back Almeida at this price at minus 275 from what I saw last time. First of all, Almeida's last 2 fights against Curtis Blades, obviously not impressive, and then against Derek Lewis, he couldn't finish him. He had him on the ground for the whole time and couldn't finish him. I don't think he's going to be able to control Romanov on the ground. Romanov's going to be the bigger guy in there. Remember, Almeida's smaller heavyweight, right? Romanov's going to be huge. He's going to come in maybe at the limit, 265. So we'll have to see there. But yeah, Romanov plus 225, a little value there. I don't know if I have the balls to play it though, guys. Definitely not going to play Almeida minus 275. This will be my pass fight. I'm going to pass here on this fight. Gun to my head, I would lean Almeida. If I had to play it, just you don't have to play it, right? That's why there's a great thing, and that's why there's a whole bunch of fights. You can pick and choose. That's what I'm good at doing. Picking and choosing fights, not forcing plays. Interesting one to open up the main card, guys. Randy Brown minus 170 versus Dos Santos plus 140. Could be a good fight. I kind of understand why. Is it a pay-per-view main card fight? I don't know about that. But I do understand the stylistic matchup could be entertaining. Right? Both guys like to strike. Is going to be on the feet for the most part. Could Brown try to sneak in a few takedowns if he's finding it to be a little dangerous with Dos Santos' power? Possibly. It'll be interesting to see, though. I like Randy Brown. I like both these guys, actually, to watch. Maybe Brown not as much. More of a point fighter. Likes to use that long jab. Good kicks as well. Dos Santos will bring the power and big shots. He'll be more eye-catchy, right? Especially for judges. Dos Santos, he has a win over Saint Denis 3 fights ago. Keep that in mind. Resume is fairly similar in strength of schedule when you look at it. So there's not too much to look at there, in my opinion. I give Brown maybe the jab advantage. He does have a really good jab, also the reach as well. But Dos Santos will bring that pressure. He will bring the big shots. Could he hurt Randy Brown on the feet? Possibly. We haven't seen it a lot. Dos Santos does have some good jiu-jitsu as well. Not too sure if he'll go to the ground, though. It'll be interesting to see if Brown tries to take there. We have seen Brown try to grapple at times and try to wrestle. He does have decent wrestling, but not too sure if he'll get there. It'll be interesting to see how this one goes. Price isn't bad as an underdog value at plus 140, guys. Right? I would shop around. I've seen it at a couple other books. This is just a generic line that I'm putting out here. And that's what I always mention, to shop around. I've seen some plus 150s out there a couple days ago. Not too sure if it's still active out there. I think little money's coming on Dos Santos, and I get it at that price. Right? I get it at that price. A little hard for me to back Brown here at minus 170. So it's going to be my underdog play on the card. Like it a little more than Romanov. Dos Santos plus 140. Not terrible. I think he can do worse. If he's not able to catch Brown, though, on the feet, if it does stay standing, can't catch him with some big shots, he could just get outpointed and go to decision. That is very possible, to be honest. But if you can get plus 150 out there, I wouldn't call you crazy to put a smaller unit. That will do it, guys. That will do it. Like I said, we'll be back on video for people that watch on video on YouTube. I get a lot of people watching on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Listen, I should say. I do thank you guys for that. But I always like to do the video and the graphics and the editing. I enjoy doing that. So I'll always be on video. And I know some people like to watch just on video as well. YouTube's convenient, right? Some people, maybe they just don't want to listen. So I'll always be on both platforms. Just going through a change and an upgrade, right? Upgrading my office space. So I will have video back shortly, and definitely well before the NFL season that's around the corner. Pretty good card here, guys. There's some good fights also on the undercard. If you want my client plays, they will be out Friday after weigh-ins. And I'll have a few plays at least. Trying to keep this run going at 18-2. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. We will see you next week.